Hopefully, at least it got everybody quiet. Okay, so today's talk is going to be by Rasa. We're continuing on our spiritual journey and some of the fun stuff that goes out with the spiritual journey. So those of you guys don't know Rasa is married to a wonderful guy. More importantly, she's a working professional. And
Yeah, he's really joking.
no, she's a working professional, been doing it for 30 plus years. But at the same time, she's been my inspiration as far as spirituality is concerned, through marriage.
Whoa.
And so what's you're gonna appreciate about this presentation, which I get to live firsthand, is she really means it from the heart, and she's really sincere about it. So she'll make a lot of mistakes.
Wow. What an introduction, but more importantly, oh my God, what pressure. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on a Friday night. Just wanted to say that there's a lot of new faces in the room, so welcome. I just wanted to say that I really, all of us at VPS, we really appreciate you for coming on Friday nights. Obviously, we know that you've been in classrooms, the entire week. To come back to campus on Friday night and spend time with us in a classroom setting, plus discussing topics, it's really appreciated. I will say this is a conversation, and really what we're trying to do tonight is we're trying to get you all inspired to at some point pick up this wonderful book called the Bhagavad Gita and read it and make it a daily part of your life, daily inspirations from the Bhagavad Gita. That's how we live our life, and I have to tell you, it's saved me so many times, especially as we tackle what we're going to be talking about, which is roadblocks and divine detours, and why do we face so many obstacles in our life, especially when it comes to developing and growing our spirituality. So if you don't have one, talk to us at the end. We can help you find one. Also, by the way, we can share a link in the WhatsApp group. You can read this entire book for free at your convenience on your phone anytime. Everything is available online for free. So with that said, we're talking about divine detours and why there's so many obstacles on your road to spiritual awakening. So if you all at some point, I imagine you're here because you're interested in spirituality, you've all meditated, you've all, prayed to God, you all have some form of spirituality in your life, right? Raise your hand if you do. Wonderful. Most everybody. Okay, cool. So you're in the right place. So we've been talking about the spiritualist journey for the last 2 semesters. So if you weren't with us before, I'll just give you a recap or a refresher. But basically, every journey begins with the end in mind. And so what I want to do today is I want to kind of lay this path as a spiritual road trip. So so we're going on a road trip together tonight. And when you go on a road trip, the first thing you do is you kind of put together a map of all the different places you want to go, all the stops along the way, and you kind of also like in a way you troubleshoot, like, oh, what, we may have this problem, or we may kind of anticipate things, and you create a journey. And so over the last couple of months, we've been reviewing what a spiritual journey looks like. And what are some of the processes and steps that you would take along a spiritual journey? So last week, we talked about the end goal of the spiritual journey, which is surrendering. I just wanted to
Yeah, and then there's like. Thing worth pursuing is something valuable. So,
a place of selflessness where, you know, you're able to give freely without it being, you know, a chore, without it being depleting, because you're constantly nourished around that path. So that's what the top of the mountain looks like in terms of being a spiritualist. And so that's kind of our roadmap. Everybody ready? Okay, cool. So the end of the road, the end of the journey, woohoo, you know, going up this beautiful, you know, stairway here is stated in the Bhagavad Gita at the end, and it's sort of the sum and substance. It's like one of the ending verses. And, you know, Krishna tells Arjuna at the end, he says, basically, you know, I've explained all these different paths and, you know, explained to you, you know, sort of the science of life, how to live life. I've explained to you basically everything in this book. But at the end of the day, he's like, you know what? At the end, they just surrender unto me. I'll take care of you. I'm going to make it so simple for you that, you know, it's no matter what happens to you, just surrender to me and I'll take care of you. And so that's the idea of, you know, the spiritual journey is that you come to a place where you're completely selfless. You know that, you know, God, Krishna is going to take care of you. There's no fear, but more importantly, you're in a place of joy. So when we talk about, you know, service to others, service to God and so forth, it's no longer a chore. It's joyfully performed because it comes from the heart. So that's what the end goal looks like. So we're going on our road trip and we're like, wait, so why are there so many obstacles and detours? I mean, this is such a noble path, right? I mean, we're here to do good and we expect that if we do good, then good is going to come back to us. If we're, you know, seeking higher, seeking higher development, if we're seeking, you know, this growth, then why should bad things come along the way? So everybody's asked this question, right? I imagine. Okay. Well, the reason is because as we are, you know, moving along this path of spiritual awakening, we find out that we have a very complicated mind that creates a lot of complication, and it's a source of constant roadblocks. So you know how they say that, you know, everything is within, you know, basically, but some people say, no, you can't get out of your mind sometimes. Have you heard that saying? So basically, that's the number one roadblock. When you think about challenges, you know, let's just say 50% of the time, if not more, the challenge is in your own head, right? Let's just talk about other roadblocks. You know, along the lines, I was like Googling pictures and I was like, oh my God, we just been to India recently. And this was my favorite roadblock. This is another favorite one. I was like, whoa. Can you imagine? But here in the US, this is a really funny one. You might not expect this in India. This actually happened last year. There was a Yellowstone National Park. There was a bison stampede as people were trying to drive. So yes, all kinds of unexpected twists and turns and detours challenges, right? So our roadblock number one, and this is our main roadblock in spiritual quest, is that we've forgotten who we are. And this is nothing new. I'm just going to review it. The fact that we've forgotten that we are Atman, we are spirits, and we are not this body. And so what happens is when we forget that is we identify with our temporary bodies and we forget our true identity, which is our true identity is we are eternal, we're parts and parcels of God. And as parts and it's kind of like magnets, right? Small particles want to migrate towards the larger magnet. We naturally want to migrate towards God, but because we are in this suspended mode, we forget about him. And instead of focusing our efforts towards him, we sort of focus internally. We become selfish, right? That's what we mean, from evolving from being selfish to being selfless. We're here because we're being selfish. We're focusing on ourselves. And so part of the spiritual journey is as you move towards selflessness, what happens along the way is you can oscillate, right? Because you're in practice mode. And so oscillating means sometimes you're all about yourself. Sometimes you actually, look towards God or turn towards God. And that oscillation can be really confusing. And it creates our main roadblock number two, which Arjuna and Krishna talk about in the Bhagavad Gita, where they actually talk about how the mind is constantly agitated. And the reason being is we've forgotten our true identity. And as a result, we're in an unnatural state. So we're constantly agitated. And you can see this. I mean, even like, are you familiar with Patanjali's Yoga Sutras in meditation? You do meditation, this is kind of like it's kind of like a guide in meditation where they talk about the 9 obstacles on the yogic path. You can see here, when you read them, disease, mental inertia, doubt, idleness, indulgence, delivery, thinking, killed or perceived unsteadiness. Like 99% of those are all up here, right? There's only one physical part of disease, which actually you could say is, a lot of people say it's connected to your, mind. And, it's like that mind-body connection. Was there a question back there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So is it a bad thing if you are helping someone for a selfish reason?
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
Is it a bad thing if you are helping someone for a selfish reason?
Oh, wow. How about we can get into that? Let me just finish our thought first and then we can get into that. But anyways, okay, so we are our own roadblock in our minds, right? So getting to your question in a minute, but in the mind, all kinds of things happen. And what we find out is there's a lot of ugliness that builds over time in our minds. A lot of what we call anarthas, which in Sanskrit means unwanted things, or things that, are not natural to us that, we want to get rid of. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually talks about what those unwanted things are. And he defines them as pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, ignorance. Those are some of the main qualities, they say, of, what these unwanted things are. And all of these are the foundations of all these other problems that we have. So like, as an example, from anger comes delusion, and then delusion creates bewilderment, and then that bewilders your memory, and then from, when your memory is bewildered, then your intelligence is lost, you start making all kinds of crazy decisions. Think about the last time you got really, really upset. Most likely you don't even remember what you said after that, and then when the intelligence is lost, one falls down into the material tool. So it's kind of like this downward spiral. So like if you're, you feel like you're working on yourself, it's very easy to like, let's just say falter, and then you feel like you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I made all this progress, but I feel like I just took 2 steps back, that easily. So basically the idea is you don't want to falter because all of these lead to more and more, challenges in your mind that keep you like sort of on this downward stream rather than on that upward stream. So to your question, if you are, let's just say to use your example, if you are, doing selfless acts, but they're self-motivated and not selfless, then it's not a selfless act, first of all, right? And then the second part is, if it's if it's an act that is, benefiting you and it's coming from your own sense of, your own need, then basically it's not going to really benefit the other person the way they need it, right? I mean, you can look at it so many different ways, but the idea is that if you're helping somebody out selflessly, then you're going to listen to them. You're going to, basically try to help them out the way that they want to be helped. And that's really going to, be a successful outcome. But if you're coming from a place of, hey, I'm going to get something out of this, then 2 things are going to happen. That person's not going to get the right type of help eventually, and you're not going to be satisfied internally. So both, it's like a lose-lose outcome. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So actually, our author, Srila Prabhupada, who wrote this book, who translated the Bible, he says, his comment on this verse is, in this verse, the royal road to hell is described. It's kind of like I said, that downward spiral is pretty, it's how life works. So really, like the mirror covered by the dust, our heart is also covered by different degrees of these anarthas. So all these anarthas, these unwanted things, what happens is we are pure beings, we're pure souls. We're here in this world because we've developed these anarthas, these coverings, these selfish tendencies that are covering the mirror of our hearts. And so, with any kind of mirror, if it's dirty, you have to clean it, right? And in every religious, spiritual tradition in this world, they have the same analogy, right? This is a Christian saying, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. That's actually in the Bible. And we have the same sayings in the Bhagavad Gita. That's what Krishna tells Arjuna all the time. So, how should we clean the mirror of our hearts? How should we view these obstacles as they're coming to us? How do we react? So actually, there's a whole passage in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna and Arjuna are talking, and then Krishna asks Arjuna, hey, you know what? What does it look like somebody who's pure in heart? How do they behave? How do they act? So it's like the reverse of this question that I just asked, right? And Krishna actually answers with all the qualities of somebody who is pure in heart. So we won't talk about that now, but really, you should view these obstacles in different ways. They're here to help you. So it's the positive view of obstacles. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but we'll talk about them from the perspective of the Bhagavad Gita. So they're here to help us surrender to God. So basically the idea is that if your path was so comfortable and so easy, then it wouldn't, let's just say, A, it wouldn't be as fulfilling when you finally got there. B is you wouldn't learn all the lessons that you are supposed to learn to get there, right? To purify your heart, to get rid of things, it's not so easy. You really have to go through a process of learning, accepting, purifying and so forth. And so obstacles are like kind of like a ladder. If you see this illustration here, it's like a kind of spiritual ladder or stairway upon which, a spiritualist or a devotee can steadily progress towards God. So there's a reason why obstacles are there. And they're like little tests that we can, that we go through to strengthen ourselves by taking these tests. And by taking these tests, it's like basically the whole idea is, you know, as parents, Mohit and I used to go through this like discussion with our kids, like, okay, you know that our kids are maturing if, you know, as the same decision process comes to them, they start making the right decisions, right? So it's like a series of right decisions creates a great outcome. A series of wrong decisions will sort of create a negative outcome. So the idea is you might make a, you know, right decision here, a wrong decision there, you know, and so forth, which is fine. That's part of life. But if you keep making wrong decisions, if there's a pattern, then you know that you're not improving, and or you know that you need help. And so that's the whole formation here, is that if you surrender to, you know, to take guidance, to take shelter of the Lord, then things happen to where you start making those right decisions. You start elevating yourself. That process of self-improvement starts to become easier, and a lot of these mental obstacles start to dissipate. So we're going to do a quick exercise. This is a personal exercise, no partner needed. So what I want you to do is take a quick minute in your mind. You can close your eyes or you don't have to. This is meditative writing. So you can do this on your phone, or, you know, if you don't want to, you can do it in your mind, meditative states. So really reflect and make a quick list of obstacles on you're facing on your spiritual path. And that really means an internal obstacle. It doesn't mean like, hey, you know what, I'm having a really tough time with a particular subject in the class, or, you know, I didn't eat all day, I'm really hungry. You know, whatever obstacle you're facing that's, you know, physical or, you know, just, you know, your ordinary life. Let's move those to the side and let's look at internal obstacles. Internal obstacles could be like, you know, hey, I really need to work on forgiving others. I really need to work on being more compassionate. So think about what those obstacles might be in your own life. And you can create a quick little prayer to God to try to overcome those obstacles. I'll give you like 30 seconds. Quick reflection, as we like people like to say, moment of silence. Promise I won't ask anybody to share, so. Okay. Thank you for doing this exercise. One of the powerful outcomes of this exercise is to try to really, when you are facing these types of obstacles, this is kind of the answer. Try to go inside internally and, you know, really try to identify these obstacles, being honest with yourself, what they are, and then literally give them to God, you know, offer them as a prayer, ask for help, ask for shelter, ask for mercy. So here are a couple of really inspiring thoughts that I came through as we look at obstacles as a learning opportunity. One thing to always think about is that everything happens for a reason, right? So the world is purposeful. Everything is actually transpiring by order of a higher spiritual intelligence. who is actually your best friend, you know, and that's God, that's Krishna. So Krishna is your best friend. So even though something might look like it's really challenging, or it's a detour, or it's an obstacle, it's not just, you know, random. It's by divine providence, and something is supposed to come out of that. Something that you don't quite understand right now in the moment, but the answer will come. As they always say, you know, hindsight is 20/20 vision, right? Especially for me, I'm older now. Like, you know, I can say a lot of obstacles that I faced in my 20s, I kind of understand now. I look back and I'm like, oh my God, now I know why that happened. Or I'm so glad I didn't realize how, you know, actually an obstacle or a challenge can be a blessing, right? Like, oh my God, if that didn't happen to me, then I wouldn't be who I am today. And gosh, thank God I had to go through all these obstacles because, you know, it's made me a lot, you know, humbler in my life. I've learned so many lessons, you know, and it's really fulfilling to go through life learning lessons because, you know, I have to say that if you go through life and you don't learn lessons, you're just going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And it's going to feel like you're stuck. And eventually, you know, you're going to get to my age and you're going to be like, wow, you know, life has just been really challenging and you become bitter and then, you know, and that's it. So the idea is that if, you know, as Mo has been talking about, the whole idea of, you know, taking this journey is that if you take a spiritual journey concurrently with whatever else you're doing in your life, what happens is you are going to grow internally, and anything that happens in life, you'll be able to, you know, move through it with confidence, with guidance, with protection, and, you know, with a big picture solution, knowing that everything's happening for a reason. I like this quote too. Obstacles are nature's reminder that we're not who we are. We are spiritual beings with a relationship with the supreme being. You know, again, going back to our number one, you know, reason for having obstacles is the fact that we've forgotten our true identity. So let go of expectations and trust God. He's your eternal anchor. And spirituality and faith is what keeps you moving forward. So trust the process. It works. There's so many people that are living proof that spirituality, a spiritual practice every day, actually creates really beneficial, beautiful results. I can't tell you how many amazing yogis, amazing sages, amazing devotees we've met in our lives. And these people are people who have regular spiritual practices integrated into, you know, their everyday existence. It's part of who they are. And it really works. So really at the end of the day, if you flip things on their head, obstacles are actually an opportunity to serve. And the opportunity to serve is what makes life worth living. Isn't that a beautiful statement, right? So, because when you're going through obstacles, what it really means is that you have an opportunity not only to serve others, but to serve yourself internally, meaning that, you know, you become humble, you know, you know, ask for help. There's so many things that happen, and at the end of the day, it brings you closer to this path of service, selfless service from your heart, which is what makes life, you know, so purposeful and so fulfilling. So here we are at the top of the mountain resting. And the whole idea here is that if you simplify your mind, spirituality is actually simple. Srila Prabhupada, the author, also, he has this favorite saying that spirituality is very simple for the simple and it's super complicated for the complicated. And the whole essence here is it doesn't have to be complicated. We just make it complicated. So last thought I want to leave you here with is that we can cross any obstacle in this world by getting help. And what does help look like? It's mercy. It's called mercy, right? Mercy means that it's help that is coming from above, or, you know, coming from someone that's not really deserved. And the reason it's coming to you is because you're in a humble state of mind. You have a humble heart and you're ready to receive. So if you put yourself in that state of consciousness, then mercy will come your way through other people, through God, through guidance. And that's what we're talking about here. You can cross over obstacles through guidance and help from the Lord. And this is another quote from Scripture. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in the intensive practice of devotional service, and that's the means for attaining perfection in life. Just as the river flows to the ocean and nothing can stop the water, water somehow reaches the ocean. Similarly, with pure devotion, pure love, the devotee is able to reach God and nothing stops that. No obstacle gets in the way. In fact, when you get to a certain level, there's no such thing as a spiritual obstacle. They literally go away. So that's kind of, the positive road and, lot to look forward to. And the whole idea is just become simply wonderful. Simplify your mind in that sense. And, you will get protection, you will get direction, you will get that guidance. And, I love this. This is another quote from Scripture. It's saying that, God as our shelter, he's if somebody falls in love with him, even if they fall off the path, they don't fall because he will always uplift them. He will always protect them, and so they can fearlessly traverse any kind of journey, and they will be able to, basically, when they say the heads of their opponents, you can traverse the heads of your opponents. It means that you can really just move through all these obstacles seamlessly and continue to progress. All right. Motivation. I'm going to end on this note because I love this poem. Have you guys ever heard of Mother Teresa's Anyway poem? Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to read this because it's beautiful, and I think it's sort of like that nourishing, ending message that will carry you on for hopefully the next, few weeks, if not months, if not lifetime. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you're kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you're successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. I know that to be true. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. If you're a parent, this is especially true. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you got anyway. I feel like this should be like a graduation speech, right? You see in the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. So all those obstacles, it's really not about them anyway. They're just there for you to become, and realize your true self. So thank you for listening. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. Any questions? Yes.
This point, is that also part of the book?
Yes. I just segued it as so that it could be the grand finale. Yeah. No. God in your heart. So it's basically saying that at the end of the day, it's not about you and anybody else. It's not about you and anything else in this world. It's about you and God in your heart. It's, like we were saying, it's an internal journey. Yeah. Good question though. Thank you. Any other questions? Go for it. That's a great question. That's a great question. So just to repeat it, you saying that, obviously it's intuitive. A lot of us, agree with the statement, right? That if people are unreasonable, illogical, self-centered, that, should try to forgive them, right? It's the right thing to do. But what about, like this book is founded on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is, obviously a big war between the Pandavas and their cousins, the Kauravas, and the Kauravas were mistreating the Pandavas and doing all these horrible things, try to kill them, so forth and so on. You all know the story, right? So why didn't they just forgive them, right? Actually, that is actually the foundation of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Because Arjuna has a crisis, an internal crisis, and he sees all of his cousins, his teachers, his grandfather, his family on the other side of the battlefield, and he knows that, he's a great warrior. He's going to have to kill all of them. And he's thinking to himself, like, why? Why would I do this? I can just forgive them. I can just go, move to the mountain, move to a cave and surrender everything. I don't need to kill everybody. If I kill my family, I won't be able to enjoy this kingdom anyway. It's all for nothing. Why should I do this? This doesn't make sense, right? So he's like logically explaining to himself why he shouldn't fight. And at the end of the day, he had like, this was, weighing on his heart. He had like a nervous breakdown right there and then, before the battle was going to start. And so he turns to Krishna and he's like, this is what I think. And Krishna tells him, you should fight. And here's why. It's not about forgiving. It's the fact that you have to do your duty. And if your duty is to fight, because everyone's got a duty in this world, right? So as an example, it's like nature. If the sun didn't rise, the sun didn't do its duty and rise every morning, then, vegetation wouldn't happen. We wouldn't be able to, I mean, all nature would be messed up, right? So it's the same idea. If they're not fighters in this world, then, chaos would ensue, right? People would not be protected, so forth and so on. So we all have to do our duties. And Krishna says you do have to do your duty at the end of the day. And so the whole idea is that you serve Krishna, and in that process, there is forgiveness. Does that answer your question?
So, Arjuna fought because it was his duty to fight. And is it also because he was a king, he came from Kshatriya?
Exactly.
That
Yes.
was his duty.
Exactly. He was a warrior. It was his duty. So, especially in the old kingdoms, the warrior's duty is to protect. And the warrior duty, also he was from the, Kshatriya, so he was a king. So they had to rule. They had to be, they had to protect Dharma. They had to protect, citizens and so forth. So if you have, bad kings, if you have bad people ruling this world, what's going to happen to this world? It's not right. So the whole idea is that he was put on this earth in this role for a reason. God put him there for a reason, and the idea is that he could be. Krishna's argument is don't be weak of heart or don't be weak of mind. Just because the world can be confusing at times doesn't mean that you should deviate from your duty and also from your service, which he said that this is your service to me. And I've already arranged this as part of my natural order. So, great question. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
While I try to live, we find identify we also do this primarily
Oh no. Yeah. So the idea is you should stand for what's right. you know, but when we talk about forgiving people is you don't hold grudges, you don't operate. I mean, at the end of the day, forgiveness is about letting go of all this internal stuff. So it's an internal thing to forgive first and foremost. If you don't forgive you start by you have to forgive yourself, then you can forgive others. Because the idea is that you can't learn if you have this blockage, right? So you can't receive knowledge, you can't make progress internally if you have this blockage. So that's what forgiveness is about, is you don't have ill will towards people, you don't hold grudges, you don't, you're not judgmental, you don't see the worst in people right away. You try to understand why they're doing what they're doing, what you're supposed to learn from this, how is this supposed to be a growth experience for you. Try to get all the positives out of it because that's why it's there. That people come into your lives for reasons. It's not like, again, nothing happens randomly. Everything happens. I mean, it's part of this whole, structure of karma and, free will and so forth. I mean, all of that is covered in detail. We won't get into it too much, but the idea is that forgiveness it's a part of being humble and compassionate. It's, all the qualities that we talked about, like in terms of cleaning your heart. When you clean your heart, all of these beautiful qualities will come naturally because that's our natural state. Yes.
Yeah, so what it also means is, I mean, you can, if I like the crochet or if I still forgive the cousins because, that's their nature. They're gonna do it. So like you said, you just don't hold a grudge. You just understand, hey, this is what my job is to do, understanding full well that people are illogical sometimes. And so you have to deal with them, but at the same time, you also see that they're a spiritual being. And so you let go. You don't hold a grudge is the biggest thing that Rasa said.
Yeah, exactly.
You just understand that this is the kind of stuff that happens and let go and move on.
Right. People evolve. Like if you don't forgive somebody, it's like you're not giving them a chance to evolve. Right? So it's like somebody could have hurt you like 20 years ago. Well, in your case, it's probably not, but could have hurt you like 10 years ago and you're still holding on to that thing against that person. But if you met that person again, you might realize that, oh my God, they've completely changed. They, worked on themselves. They become this wonderful person. And if you don't forgive them, then you're not even open to the possibility that they could have become this amazing person, right? So it's not fair to them. It's not, but at the end of the day, it's holding you back. It's hurting you more than the other person because you're holding all that resentment. You're holding all this ill will. You've got that blockage. So yeah. Cool. I'm not going to bore you guys anymore. We're going to move on to the next portion of our program, which is some more meditation, this time mantra meditation. And who is going to be leading us? Girish?
Manoj Chaitanya
Okay.
Prabhu.
We're going to do some mantra meditation. After that, we'll be dinner. Thank you again, guys.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna. Krishna.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Next part.